Hey guys, this is God of Politics. I'm going to a brand new video, but before we get started with this video, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also, follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. Those are both linked down in the description. But in today's video, I do want to talk about a very big campaign announcement by a candidate for Senate in Wisconsin, Wisconsin State Treasurer Sarah Godlewski, who has just announced this morning that she is running for the Senate against Ron Johnson. Maybe he retires and it's an open seat and she's running against someone else. Maybe she doesn't win the primary, but we'll see. But as of now, it's expected that, at least from her campaign ad, that she'll be running against Ron Johnson. She announced that in her campaign ad. She said, "People say we can't fix the Senate, but I don't buy that." She said, "They say don't even try to take on Ron Johnson, but I say we have to. Every time someone's told me what I can't do, I've shown them what I can do." So I don't want to talk too much about, her announcement or anything like that, here specifically what she said, but mainly just what are her chances going to be. So she was elected to the Wisconsin State Treasurer's office in 2018 by 4.1 percentage points, which is actually pretty impressive if you ask me. This is a map that I made of her race. You can see here that of the 72 counties in the state of Wisconsin, she won 21 of them, which is pretty impressive nowadays for a Democrat in Wisconsin. She got 60% in, a lot of these heavy union counties up near Superior, Washington, up in northern Wisconsin. She did pretty well in the Driftless area, and she didn't do too badly in the WOW counties as well. And so that's really what's going to be crucial if she does want to win, because looking, for example, at the 2016 result, we can see, of course, Hillary Clinton lost by 0.7 percentage points because she lost most of these Driftless areas counties. Well, individually they don't have very many people in them. When you combine all of these counties that Hillary Clinton, lost 10-20% ground in, it does make a difference, and she did not get the margins that she needed in the WOW counties. So, you can see here that if we look at her race, she actually, her opponent got 70% of the vote in one of the WOW counties, which was actually Washington County, and 60% in both Waukesha and Ozaukee. Whereas if you look at the 2020 results and we go to the state of Wisconsin, you can see here that Trump did not even crack 60% in Waukesha, he did not crack 60% in Ozaukee, and he did not crack 70% in Washington. So what we're seeing, which is basically what we're seeing across the board, is that Biden overperformed down ballot Democrats in the suburbs, but underperformed them in most rural areas. And you can see that here. We can see all these counties, these darker counties where Trump got over 60% of the vote. If we go to her race, most of these counties, her opponent only got over, just over 50% of the vote, but less than 60% of the vote. And so it's going to be interesting to see what the results would look like by county if she did win. I think what would be pretty clear is that she would perform better in the rural areas. That's something we saw in the 2018 governor race, where Tony Evers won almost all of the Driftless area counties over here. And while he did worse in the suburbs, not even, cracking 30% in Washington County, and his opponent, Scott Walker, getting 72%, you can also see that he overall just did much worse in the WOW counties. And that's really what's happened. Down ballot candidates have done better in the suburbs at Republican candidates. You can see the same thing in 2016 with Ron Johnson. Last time he was up for re-election, he got over 60% in Washington County, he got over 60% in Ozaukee, and over 60% in Waukesha County. Keep in mind, Trump got 59.8% of the vote in Waukesha County. Ron Johnson got 67.9% of the vote, but Ron Johnson performed much worse in these rural areas. We could see a repeat of that if Sarah Godlewski does run, it does end up being the nominee against Ron Johnson. I think that's pretty clear. She'll do worse in the suburbs, but better in the rural areas. And it also really does depend who's her opponent going to be, because I did talk about this in the last time I talked about the Wisconsin Senate race, which wasn't too long ago, and I didn't want to make another video about this so soon, but it is a pretty big announcement. But Ron Johnson has said that he's not even leaning towards running. So what happens is, at that point, you take away the incumbency advantage for the Republican Party, and then you have a good Democratic candidate who has been elected to statewide office just less than 4 years ago, and then you have a Republican candidate who probably won't be that great, because, you either elect a very Trumpy kind of candidate and they will perform worse in the suburbs, or you elect, a more moderate figure that will probably struggle in the rural areas and struggle to turn out that Trump base. But, that kind of candidate might end up doing better, but again, that kind of candidate might not end up winning the primary. So there's a lot of moving parts in when it comes to this race. And you can see here, Ron Johnson performed very well in the suburbs, and that's what gave him his 3.4 percentage point win. Most of the votes that he got came from the the WOW counties, and so that's where Republican votes do come from. You can see here 161,000 votes came from Waukesha County. None of these counties here, very few of them even have more than 10,000 votes for Ron Johnson in the counties that he won. Even these counties that are 70% for him, most of them he did not get more than 10,000 votes. And so, we do have limited polling data, and Wisconsin polling data is very terrible. But we do have an internal poll that shows that Tom Nelson is beating Ron Johnson by 4 percentage points, and Tom Nelson could end up being a candidate. He's another candidate that has entered this race. We also have speculation that people like Ron Kind could end up entering this race. I talked about the possibility of Sarah Godlewski entering this race when it was, in the publicly expressed interest category. But now she is officially running for this race, and it's going to be quite interesting to see what happens. And so, like I said before, the overall gist of the race is going to be she's going to do better in the rural areas, but worse in the suburbs. This is compared to Joe Biden. But what are her actual chances of winning? Well, I'd say her chances of winning are much lower if she runs against Ron Johnson. While Ron Johnson, you could argue, has done a lot of politically unpopular moves, opposing stimulus checks, being very opposed to stimulus checks, being opposed to pretty much any COVID relief, at least in the last couple of months. I believe he even voted against almost all of the COVID relief bills. So, those are politically unpopular positions, but will that hurt him in the state of Wisconsin? Because back in 2016, he was a Tea Party Republican who had been in the Senate for 6 years, elected first in the 2010 Republican wave. Everybody thought he was going to lose to Russ Feingold, who was pretty strong progressive, and Wisconsin does like to elect progressives. It's the original progressive state, if you know about, the history of the state of Wisconsin. But, Ron Johnson ended up winning that race. So I do think that Ron Johnson's chances do go up if he's the incumbent in terms of Republicans winning this race. Sarah Godlewski, I don't think she's going to beat Ron Johnson. She'll make it close. I think the race would be tilt Republican if Ron Johnson does run. But if he doesn't run, if he decides, I'm not going to bother going through this race, I'm not going to bother doing this again, where Democrats are probably going to end up controlling the Senate regardless, I'm going to retire. In that scenario, open seat, Sarah Godlewski versus some Democrat, or some Republican, I would say it's probably pure toss-up, to be honest. And I don't like putting pure toss-ups, but this race would truly be a pure toss-up. I could even say it's tilt D. I could say it's tilt R. I could really see that race going either way. It's going to be tough for Democrats to win in Wisconsin, given how poorly they've done in a lot of wave years in the past in Wisconsin. But I can't see a scenario where Democrats do win this race, especially if Ron Johnson retires. And I can also see a scenario where they lose by 4 to 5 percentage points again. There's really a lot of different things that could end up happening. I don't want to speak too much on it yet, but overall, I think I'm going to keep my rating at tilt Republican for now, but things could definitely change. So, thank you all for watching this video. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also, follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. Those are both linked down in the description. But again, guys, thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you guys later.